Hi everyone, welcome back to Now I See. I'm Anna Choi. Now I See is a dedicated program that opens up the lives and insights of those that have become Christian. Our guest today is Daniel Macarius. Welcome Daniel, and thank you for joining us today. So before we get to know how you became a Christian, we just want to hear about just a little bit about yourself.
Okay, my name's Macarius.
Yep.
I live on the Central Coast. I've got a wife and daughter. I converted to the Coptic Orthodox Church about 10 years ago. From my background, and before that was Protestant. I'm 38 years old.
Okay, so how did you become an active Christian?
I was introduced to Christ by a friend of my wife. He just started telling me about who Jesus was, and give me a Bible. Started reading. Felt compelled to read the scriptures because I was going through a time in my life where I needed some help in certain areas. Yeah. And so I originally met Christ through a friend of my wife, and then through another friend later on I converted to Coptic Orthodox Church.
And before that, were you looking into Christ? Or?
Not really.
Yeah.
No, I was just living my life. I wasn't.
So, what was the most exciting thing that has happened to you after you've met Christ?
Most exciting. Well, apart from my baptism and my being reborn, so to speak, I'd witnessed a miracle that my wife, I believe was a miracle. She'd had a cervical cancer, abnormal cells in her cervix, and after some time in prayer and from the priests and from other people, she'd been for a second test and it was clear. It all cleared up. So I believe that the Lord healed her personally. Yeah,
definitely. And what was the worst thing that has happened?
The worst thing?
Yeah.
The worst thing that happened since my conversion?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Well, I lost my father in 2008, so that was a struggle for me. I kind of blamed God, so to speak.
Yeah.
I know He's in control, but so I kind of took it out on Him, and asked the same question. Why so many times? Why are you taking? You could have saved him. I suppose everyone goes through that. I was just grieving.
Yeah.
So that would have been the worst thing that happened since my conversion. Is my father passing away. Yeah.
Have you learned anything from that? Like, did you started to see, find Jesus in the cracks and shadows of bad times?
Yeah, definitely. Oh, most definitely. Yeah.
And you saw yourself spiritually grow from that as well?
Yeah, definitely did. God is a great God, and He can support us in all situations. In the past, I don't know if I would have handled a situation like the passing of my father as well as I did. He was very comforting to me. The Lord was very comforting. The Holy Spirit was always reminding me of the good things that my father taught me, and just great support. I mean, I don't know what I would have done, honestly, because I was very grief-stricken. It was a sudden accident, so it was very
unexpected.
Very unexpected. It was. He had a motorbike accident, so I remember the night I went to his. I was at work and I got a call from my uncle, and he said, "Come up quick." So I left work, and I remember that night I walked into the hospital, and there's my father laying passed away. And the first thing I could think of doing was to pray for him. And I put a little cross that I'd bought from the church the week before on him. And I don't know, about 4 years later, my mother just gave it back to me. She kept it.
Yeah, so, it's just something nice to keep with her.
Yeah, she kept it, yeah. So I found that nice. It's now, he was cremated, which I didn't agree with. But they put that on his ashes, the cross. Yeah. That was the worst thing that happened, but since my coming to know Christ.
Yeah.
The best thing would have been my daughter being born. That would have been the best thing, really. Yeah.
And in terms of, going through these difficult times, did you find it very hard to obviously pray to God and, just thank Him in times of hardship and...
Yeah, yes and no. We all have hardships in life. Everyone goes through hard times. He's the first person I run to when things are really hard.
Yeah.
Even if just a quick help me, God, just a quick prayer. And in the good times, I don't find that I thank Him enough.
Yeah.
In the good times.
I feel like sometimes in good times we sometimes forget.
Yes, definitely.
Forget how how grateful we should be.
We should be grateful at all times.
Forget to pray to Him.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my prayer life is it could be improved, of course, but I believe that the Lord's drawing me into a deep relationship with Him every day.
Yeah.
So I know I'll see Him one day.
Yeah.
Face to face.
You mentioned about coming to the Orthodox Church. How did you come into the church? Did a friend introduce you to the church, or?
Yes. Yeah. It's a funny story because I had a real heart to preach the gospel to people. I'd even bought a van and put a bed in it and ordered thousands of tracts, and we travelled, me and my wife at the time, before my daughter was born, travelled around New South Wales, working as we went and giving out tracts. we even got our face in a newspaper in a couple of places. We're doing it. We'd put on barbecues and things for the locals and invite them and give them tracts. And I lost my train of thought. Oh, that's right. So I had a real heart to convert people to Christ.
Yeah.
Yeah, as I was, and I was walking past, and because of that, I was walking past a garage where I live, and I'd seen on the number plates, part of the number plate was the word "way." Yeah, I think you have to specially order it, and I thought I might go and tell this person sitting in the driver's seat, whose name happened to be Lazarus.
Yeah.
What it meant, and he knew what it meant. We started talking about God, and me and him started a friendship. And I thought that I would, and I started hearing from him about the Orthodox Church. He was looking into it at the time. He was also attending a Protestant church. At the time I was also. And he started telling me about the Orthodox Church, and I found it, I thought that he was teaching lies. So I'd intended on, saving his family, so to speak, from him teaching them lies. So I'd visit him regularly to prove him wrong. We'd have arguments and we'd thrash it out and whatnot. And then I'd walk away from after I'd go to his house, and after that I'd go away and research what he'd challenged me with,
Yeah.
So I started doing a lot of research, family, church history and early church fathers and theology.
Yep.
And any church-related issue that came up, I'd go away and research it, and I couldn't find a hole. I couldn't find somewhere where I could prove him wrong. And eventually, after about 7 years of that, or I think it was about 2 years of solid research and of that, I read a few writings from Saint Ignatius, and about the Eucharist.
Yep.
And it just pretty much dawned upon me. It was a slow process, but then there came a point where this is the church.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought, well, I might go and check it out, see what it's all about. And it was a bit of a shock when I first went to the Orthodox Church. It was completely different to Protestant church.
Yep. So it was Lazarus that brought you to the...
It was Lazarus, yeah.
Orthodox Church.
Yeah, Lazarus was he was still searching at the time. I think he may have already been baptised at that time, possibly. But this was a long time ago. That was like 10 years ago now, I think. He was a good teacher. I mean, he had a lot of knowledge. Sometimes he was a bit harsh, that's just Lazarus Bay. But I was very stubborn. I just wouldn't accept things at times. I just didn't want to accept that I'd been deceived, and that I'd believed a lie. So I kind of felt a bit like Paul when he said all of his, he regarded everything as done, in a sense. Not that I can compare to Paul, but I said all the things that I learned was done. It was no good.
Yep.
Yeah, it wasn't completely, but a lot of it was.
Yeah.
So that's how I come into Orthodoxy, because I wanted to believe what Christ taught, and I wanted to have the same faith that Christ has, that he passed on to his apostles. And if you can't have the same belief in faith if you believe different things about the same subject.
Yeah. What really attracted you into the church, like when you walked into the church?
Nothing. Really.
What was the first time you walked in was a service, wasn't it?
Yeah, the first service I walked into was
Sunday Mass, or?
I think it was, let me think, I think it was just a standard Sunday Mass. Yeah. It was the first service we walked into, and we'd arrived a bit late, and there was incense all flowing through the room, and the priest in there said a scheme there, dressed in there, a scheme, the black scheme, and the ladies on one side and the men on the other side. And I found it all quite a bit strange. Well, I'd been warned about it prior. I mean, I'd been told about it.
But to see it and experience
it was a bit in your face, because it's just something. It was a bit of a culture shock. I wasn't used to seeing that.
Yeah.
You know, I used to walk into a church and you see people throwing their hands in the air and waving around, and someone on stage with a guitar thrashing away, and it was my
What was
idea.
your first impression? Like, just a bit different, or?
My first impression was, look, by that time I'd done quite a lot of research.
Yeah, and
so
you knew this is something that you...
Yeah, so I knew what I was looking at, but I just felt a bit uncomfortable, and I knew that it was, for lack of better terms, like the gate of heaven, so to speak. Yeah. But I just didn't feel comfortable, because it wasn't something I was used to. Yeah. Yeah, but I quickly got used to it, and the standing up was a bit hard to get used to. I think I had sore feet, But you quickly get used to it, and I look forward to service. Yeah. If I miss it too much, I get kind of cravings for it, if that makes sense. Yeah. Yeah.
And what was your first say, like, feast? Feast was like your Easter.
Feast and Nativity was the first.
What was your first experience? What was that like?
Yeah, it was good. It was longer than the average service, and my daughter fell asleep because she was a little baby at the time. It was how can I say it? It's the church is holy, and if you're, as I just got a feeling myself, if I'm sitting here or standing there, experiencing the same as what one of the great apostles experienced, or what a Christian experienced in the 1st, 2nd century, 3rd century, 4th century, you become part of a huge family. Yeah. Yeah. And not only that, in the local congregation, I felt the same way. Yeah. We're always made to feel welcome. Yep. And people would always ask how you were if you weren't there.
Oh, you mean at the Orthodox?
If you couldn't make it, you'd
nice.
Yeah, so my confession father is Father Schneider. Yeah. He's a great man. Yeah. we love him very much, and it's been an honour to have him as my confessional father. But we recently decided to start attending the church at the entrance, and we were a bit sad to leave Guildford. Yeah. We'll still go there once a month or something. Yeah. But, so that was kind of my first experience anyway.
That's great. Well, unfortunately we have run out of time, so thank you so much for joining us today. No problem. We'll continue Daniel's story in our next episode on Now I See. I'm Anna Choi. Thank you.